I'm Kevin Davis. This is the Catholic Family Podcast, and I'm happy to be joined by Mario from Novus Ordo Watch. I think you guys know him by now, and of course you know him by name, and you probably also know what he's going to talk about because it's just kind of what is in the news, and that is Archbishop Vigano, Father Vigano. I should probably clarify that already. Again, we did that with Father McKenna too. Mario, do we want to call him Father Vigano, Archbishop Vigano? What do you think?
Let's just call him Archbishop Vigano. That's sure. How everybody knows him, and at this point he might actually be a bishop, but he hasn't told us. There is a rumor, a persistent rumor, that he was consecrated a bishop conditionally by Bishop Richard Williamson.
And I've heard from very good sources that yes, actually did happen. Yeah, so I think that's
yep.
I can't confirm it, which he is going to have to do, but I would be shocked if it's not the case.
I don't understand why they're being secretive about it. If it happened, just say so, because
what Bishop Williamson does. It's just, I mean, all due respect to Bishop Williamson, that's just right. It's kind of his modus operandi. He just kind of is secretive.
Yeah, I mean, people kind of need to know, is the man a valid bishop or not?
Absolutely.
But it seems to me like, they're trying to not offend the wrong people, or maybe they, and by that I mean people who might perhaps be willing to look at what Archbishop Vigano has to say, but will be turned off by them finding out that he had been consecrated conditionally, although it really shouldn't be that big of a deal, because considering that he was made a bishop in the new church, in other words, he has the for those who believe that John Paul II was a valid pope, well, he appointed him bishop. He commanded that he be consecrated a bishop. So it's not like here's somebody who is making him, who wants to be a bishop. No, he's technically just making sure that which was supposed to have been done, I think in 1992 or something, that actually did take place, that it actually took effect. So I don't understand what the big deal is, but okay, let's call him Archbishop Vigano.
Sure. Yeah, and I think, again, most people have already seen commentary from Father McKenna. We had him on the channel last week. You've seen it from Bishop Sanborn. And I think that I think it's good to have different opinions out there. That's part of why I asked Mario to come on. And Mario, I think, is one of maybe the best one to talk about this in many ways, because this is really what Mario does. Novus Ordo Watch, like that's, I think of all the people in the world, Mario is probably the expert in actually following what these people say and do, right?
Well,
so I think, come on, who else actually follows all of the dirty stuff that these guys? There are
okay, but not on Vigano specifically. Okay. It's really, of course, this thing has been going on for years. It's been almost exactly 6 years, right? It was in August of 2018 that Vigano made waves when he accused Francis of having known about the sexual misdeeds and abuse of Theodore McCarrick. And but then he released this first testimony, I think he called it, and then he went into hiding. Apparently he was in fear of his life, and then he kept issuing more and more stuff. And after a while I got kind of frustrated or just tired of it. I'm like, okay, well, what is this going to be? Right. What's the plan here? So nobody knows where he is. And I think that made him ineffective. Had he shown up at the gates of Vatican City, I think that would have been way more effective. But okay, at least somebody's doing something. And then he kept issuing one thing after another, and it got to be so much that I stopped reading him. And I stopped publicizing, everything, because, everything that he was writing, because I just didn't want to be his mouthpiece. Okay, you know what? Everything that happens in the world, we're going to get a commentary from Carlo Maria Vigano. Okay, well, whoever wants to follow that can do so, but I'm not going to, spread the news, so to speak, every time he does that. It was just way too frequent. And, now we're in 2024, so it's been 6 years already, and a lot was said and a lot happened in those 6 years. And you know, what I would say is, first of all, we should be sure to actually look at the data. In other words, look at what Vigano has actually said and what he has done, and evaluate that without a preconceived position in terms of like, oh, I'm for Vigano or I'm against Vigano. Let's just look at what he actually says and not try to read it in, you know, like with what we want to hear, but let's just let the facts speak for themselves. And, you know, everything I've read from Vigano, and I guess you could say it's the most important stuff, I just have my doubts about his sincerity. And I'm not trying to say that, I'm not trying to oppose him, like, because, oh, well, he's, you know, a Johnny come lately, or he's, you know, not fully set of account or whatever. It has nothing to do with that. I just think that when you look at the objective record, there are some questions that I think make it prudent to doubt or to just have reservations. Okay. So I don't think we should jump on this and say, oh my goodness, Vigano is the man. And, you know, at the same time, I also don't think we should jump on it and condemn Vigano because, oh, he did this wrong and you know, didn't understand that and whatever. So besides, I also don't see, you know, why should we take a side? You know, some people are, you know, stand with Vigano, you know, for sure. Mm-hmm. Others, you know, condemn. And I'm thinking, well, why? Why do we have to take a side necessarily, like right now? Why can't we just wait and see? You know, the man could be a fifth column. Maybe he's supposed to, maybe his idea is to divide sedevacantists or to whatever, throw a monkey wrench into any kind of traditionalism, and by forcing people to choose sides. I don't know. I'm not saying it. I'm not saying that is so, but I'm also not willing to exclude that as a possibility.
Well, for me, at the beginning of these things, I was very pro, you know, Viganos. Like, hey, this is, wow, someone, you know, a big name kind of is making waves. This is good. And exactly as you said, after years, it was kind of like, okay, man, yeah, okay, just do something. You have to stop words. And what really struck me, and I think this is a lot what we're going to talk about today, is that he got progressively more and more political, like really political, really political. And it was kind of like, and I know, again, I talked about this with Father McKenna, probably a stupid idea, but for me, it really struck me. It was like, I really thought that he had people ghostwriting for him, you know, who had agendas in the U.S. who were trying to get their own agendas across and just put the name of Archbishop Vigano. Probably not what happened, but there's still some strange things that happened in 2020 and I believe after, and we're going to talk about that today. But also, I just saw on his Twitter channel that he came out with a video that's a minute 40 long. I think maybe we'll play that at the end or sometime during this video. And he also is mostly just talking about politics. He's talking about the deep state and the deep church. And to me, that just kind of strikes me as, why is he using that language? You know, and why shouldn't he be a prelate talking about what's wrong with the faith? I mean, it seems like that would be more helpful, I suppose. But again, Mario, I don't know if that's, do we want to head into that now and kind of what he had to say in this?
Yeah, I think we're probably all in agreement that a lot of things Vigano has said in public is very good and needed to be said. We may disagree. I'm sure, you know, a lot of people may disagree about what exactly that is, but at least in terms of, you know, his critique of the Vatican II Church and Bergoglio and so on, a lot of this is very good. And, you know, when you read it, you're thinking, oh, good, finally somebody who's part of the Novus Ordo hierarchy is finally saying this. At the same time, we have to look at the entire picture. We can't just say, oh, he's saying all these wonderful things, so therefore go Vigano. You know, there were a few things, two things that happened in 2020 that made me really scratch my head, or rather made me very cautious about Vigano. And this is why I'm wondering if he is perhaps not sincere, or that maybe there's some other agenda afoot. And so that was on June 7th of 2020. Vigano sent an open letter to President Trump. I think it was about 3 pages. And if you could pull it up on the screen, we'll put it in the show notes, of course. And I already, back in 2020, I wrote a blog post about that, and we're going to be linking that as well. And I'll just point out that the post on Novus Ordo Watch is dated June 8th, 2020, and it's called Dangerous Heresy in Attractive Wrapping Paper, Archbishop Vigano's Letter to President Trump.
Wow, you did that the next day, Mario?
the very next day, yes.
That's pretty impressive. Wow, props.
Thank you. What really shocked me also was not only what Vigano says in that letter, but also the fact that the big recognize and resist outlets, and by that specifically I mean LifeSite, The Remnant, and Catholic Family News, they immediately jumped on this and praised Vigano for this letter. However, and I want to make clear, this is not about so much about politics. The reason I want to bring this up is strictly because of the errors that Vigano, the theological errors that Vigano includes in that letter. And they are very concerning because this is a big deal. Those are huge blunders which someone of his caliber, especially as he's coming out and he's now, trying to expose all the Freemasonry and so on. These are errors that someone of his caliber cannot be making. So let's just maybe take a look and go through some of it.
Do you want me to put up his letter or your blog?
No, his letter. Please go ahead.
Yep, it's up.
Yeah. Okay, wonderful. So he starts out saying, Mr. President, in recent months, we've been witnessing the formation of 2 opposing sides that I would call biblical: the children of light and the children of darkness. The children of light constitute the most conspicuous part of humanity, while the children of darkness represent an absolute minority. And yet the former are the object of a sort of discrimination which places them in a situation of moral inferiority with respect to their adversaries, who often hold strategic positions in government, in politics, in the economy, and in the media. In an apparently inexplicable way, the good are held hostage by the wicked and by those who help them, either out of self-interest or fearfulness. Now, notice that Archbishop Vigano starts out by using the biblical image, and he specifically points out it is biblical, of the children of light and the children of darkness. But as we know from Catholic teaching and from the biblical testimony, what is meant by children of light? The children of light are not those who are good in a natural sense, those who, are of goodwill, want to, whatever, are just, law-abiding citizens, don't mean harm, to anyone, and, pay their taxes and, raise families and so on. That's not what we mean by children of light. Specifically, we're talking about the members of the church who are part of the kingdom of Christ, right? The Catholic Church is the kingdom of God on earth. And so you can use the term children of light. I'm not sure now whether you could say it refers to all the members of the Catholic Church, or whether it is even more specifically refers only to those members of the church who are in the state of grace. The latter would seem to make more sense to me, but you get into this subjective, objective distinction that it's somewhat nuanced, and it's more difficult this way. But I think that certainly it would be the souls in the state of grace. They are the children of light because they are united to Christ and part of his kingdom. And so to use that image and say, it refers actually to what does he say? Well, actually, it is, I think, in the... Well, he doesn't say it outright, but he's essentially saying whoever isn't devilishly wicked like those of the deep state, they are the children of light. Now, that's naturalism, okay? And I think there's more in it in the second or maybe the third paragraph. Let me just quote some more from his letter to President Trump. So he says, these two sides, which have a biblical nature, follow the clear separation between the offspring of the woman and the offspring of the serpent. Okay, here he is talking about Genesis chapter 3. On the one hand, there are those who, although they have 1,000 defects and weaknesses, are motivated by the desire to do good, to be honest, to raise a family, there we go, to engage in work, to give prosperity to their homeland, to help the needy, and in obedience to the law of God, to merit the kingdom of heaven. Okay? I mean, this is, I'm almost thinking this is, part of this is Lutheranism, where, you know, well, 1,000 defects and weaknesses, but I mean, you don't have to interpret it that way. But in any case, he is expanding the definition of the children of light again, and he's even doubling down by calling them the offspring of the woman. They're talking about, of course, the Blessed Virgin Mary here. He's talking about the Blessed Virgin Mary, who is at enmity, right, with the offspring of the serpent. And so he's doubling down on this analogy, or on this this image, and he's making it worse, right? So he's saying that all those who, you know, even though they're sinners, nevertheless are motivated by the desire, okay, have a good motive, right? So people of goodwill, and who, well, you know, then he gets somewhat ambiguous or vague and says, well, in obedience to the law of God, merit the kingdom of heaven. Well, you can only merit the kingdom of heaven with grace, okay, with actual grace and sanctifying grace. So, but he doesn't mention that at all. So he appears to be saying that all those who are of goodwill and don't mean any harm, you know, they do works of charity, and they can merit the kingdom of heaven by obeying God's law. Well, what about Jesus Christ? What about the true faith? What about the virtue of hope? What about sanctifying grace? What about supernatural charity, love of God and neighbor for the sake of God? It's not there. And then he contrasts again those children of light with, here he says, quote, on the other hand, there are those who serve themselves, who do not hold any moral principles, who want to demolish the family and the nation, exploit workers to make themselves unduly wealthy, foment internal divisions and wars, and accumulate power and money. For them, the fallacious illusion of temporal well-being will one day, if they do not repent, yield to the terrible fate that awaits them far from God in eternal damnation. You know, again, he's dividing mankind into those of goodwill and those of evil will, as if anyone who is not, you know, an extremely evil person will go to heaven and is already a part of the kingdom of God, is part of the children of light. That's complete nonsense. And so notice how in the very beginning, in the first paragraph, he talks about that, he mentions that the children of light are, I don't want to misquote him, constitute the most conspicuous part of humanity, while the children of darkness represent an absolute minority. Well, I think it's probably true that those who are malicious, those who are deliberately, gleefully evil, are no doubt a minority. However, when we understand the terms correctly, according to Catholic teaching, the children of light are certainly not the majority in the world. Okay, we're talking about the people in the state of grace, versus those in the state of original or mortal sin. I mean, do we really even have to talk about that?
I'd say it's definitely the minority. That's pretty clear. Yeah.
Yes, and I mean, just think about how many people profess the true faith, and I'm not talking about those who mean to profess the true faith, but those who actually do. I mean, it's a tiny minority. So this is extremely disturbing that Archbishop Vigano would say these things in an open letter to President Trump. Now, mind you, what he says there, all of this is very compatible, or I should say, it's very ecumenical friendly, right? This is something your run-of-the-mill Protestant probably is not going to have a problem with.
So that would be my question, Mario. I mean, playing devil's advocate, this already doesn't make sense before I even say it. Yeah. But can a Catholic prelate talk down to his audience? I suppose, can he go down to the level and talk in terms of temporal, relatively temporal, rather than coming from the absolute teachings of the church? And I imagine you wouldn't find the popes or teachings of other bishops in the past writing to politicians and not using the actual teachings of the church. I can't imagine you'd see that.
Yeah. Well, most importantly, what you cannot do is present falsehood, right? Lie, distort the gospel. That's the first thing. You may say, okay, well, I mean, it depends on what. First of all, what is he trying to do? If he's trying to get the president of the United States to convert to Catholicism, well, that's one thing. If he's only trying to write a diplomatic letter as former nuncio to help certain political causes to succeed, I mean, understandably, there are going to be different things for different goals. But at no point are you allowed to contradict the gospel in the process. Right.
Sure.
So what he did there is a catastrophe. And especially what's so, see, if this were just your regular run-of-the-mill Novus Ordo bishop, it wouldn't be a news story. It would just more of the typical naturalism where they think basically everyone goes to heaven except the really, really wicked, and we can all agree on who those are. Well, probably not, but the Novus Ordo, they wouldn't agree about that. But yeah, so this is just for someone who supposedly has seen the light and is now going to come out and oppose and expose all the Freemasonic infiltration and condemn the Freemasonic principles, and that, well, here he's actually embracing them as far as I can tell. So all right, so let me see. Okay, let's go to the last paragraph on the first page. Mm-hmm. And it's only it's the whole letter is less than 3 pages. Anyway, so here he says, in society, Mr. President, these two opposing realities coexist as eternal enemies, just as God and Satan are eternal enemies. And it appears that the children of darkness, whom we may easily identify with the deep state, which you wisely oppose and which is fiercely waging war against you in these days, have decided to show their cards, so to speak, by now revealing their plans. They seem to be so certain of already having everything under control that they have laid aside the circumspection that until now had at least partially concealed their true intentions. The investigations already underway will reveal the true responsibility of those who managed the COVID emergency, not only in the area of healthcare, but also in politics, the economy, and the media. We will probably find that in this colossal operation of social engineering, there are people who have decided the fate of humanity, arrogating to themselves the right to act against the will of citizens and their representatives in the governments of nations. Okay, so now he's talking about that. But again, he's using the two camps, children of light and children of darkness, and politicizes it. And I'm not saying that there isn't also, that politics has nothing to do with it. Certainly, the devil has his minions who are trying to cause certain political revolutions and just social upheaval and so forth. That's understood. But he seems to be, once again, equating it like, okay, so those who politically are on this side are the children of light, and those who are on that side are the children of the devil. And you can't do that. That's just not true. There are a lot of goodwill people who are sincere and from what they understand and know, they just want to live, a normal, good life, not hurt anybody. but that doesn't mean they're in the state of sanctifying grace. It doesn't mean they have the faith. It doesn't mean any of those things. You can be totally opposed to any kind of deep state and to anything, you know, transgender and all this garbage. You can be totally opposed to that and not believe in Jesus Christ,
right?
And or whatever, be addicted to pornography or something. You know.
Well, it's interesting because when I went to a few of these COVID demonstrations here in Germany, and it was interesting because you saw about 50% of the people who were like me. You know, people were just like, "Hey, this is crazy. I wanted, you know, stand up against, you know, tyranny." And the other 50% were hippies, and I mean hippies, like real honest to goodness, smoking weed, you know, dreadlocks type hippies. And so it exactly shows you, just because they stand with some of the things we believe in certainly doesn't mean they stand with all of them.
Yeah. Yeah. And so he's, you know, Vigano is somehow matching up, or he's rather, it's like he's supernaturalizing these natural camps, and it makes no sense, and in fact is quite contrary to the gospel. You know, our Lord said, unless your righteousness exceeds that of the Pharisees and the scribes, you won't enter the kingdom of heaven, right? And not everyone who says to me, Lord, Lord, shall enter the kingdom of heaven, and so on. I mean, to make it to heaven, it is a battle. You have to, and the enemy, so to speak, is yourself, your lower nature, your sinful nature, right? That's what Lent is all about. So let me see if we could go to, I'm on page 2 now. Yeah, let's go to the second paragraph there, beginning with, although it may seem. This is interesting too. Although it may seem disconcerting, the opposing alignments I have described are also found in religious circles. No kidding. There are faithful shepherds who care for the flock of Christ, but there are also mercenary infidels who seek to scatter the flock and hand the sheep over to be devoured by ravenous wolves. It is not surprising that these mercenaries are allies of the children of darkness and hate the children of light. Just as there is a deep state, there is also a deep church that betrays its duties and forswears its proper commitments before God. Thus, the invisible enemy whom good rulers fight against in public affairs is also fought against by good shepherds in the ecclesiastical sphere. It is a spiritual battle, which I spoke about in my recent appeal, which was published on May 8th. Yes, it is a spiritual battle, no question about it, but look at what he's doing. So he comes up with these, so he's dividing, right, humanity into children of light and children of darkness, which is legitimate, but you can't do that. It has to be, it is one reality, because we're talking about humanity, and you're either in the camp of the children of light or the children of darkness. You can't be, well, politically, I'm in the camp of the children of light, but then religiously, I might not be, or the other way around. And then whatever. And then socially, I'm in this camp. And then whatever. Academically, I'm in another camp. You know, it doesn't work that way. I think that's pretty obvious. And of course, the Bible or the Catholic Church teach no such thing, as that you have these different camps in different areas of human life. In the sense I just explained, it's all or nothing. And I'm going to quote an encyclical or two on this in a minute. Okay, next paragraph, the Archbishop Vigano says, for the first time, the United States has in you, again, he's talking about Donald Trump, a president who courageously defends the right to life, who is not ashamed to denounce the persecution of Christians throughout the world, who speaks of Jesus Christ and the right of citizens to freedom of worship. Okay, that's a Vatican II idea. Although, of course, in a non-Catholic nation such as we have now, it's true that freedom of worship is acceptable in that sense, in the sense of, well, since we have a non-Catholic state, yeah, the only way you can guarantee freedom of Catholic worship is to guarantee freedom of worship to any and all religions. Otherwise, it would be up to the government to decide, to the non-Catholic government to decide who gets to worship, or who gets to practice his religion, and that would, of course, not go well for the Catholic Church. Anyway, let me continue quoting here. Your participation in the March for Life, and more recently your proclamation of the month of April as National Child Abuse Prevention Month, are actions that confirm which side you wish to fight on. And I dare to believe that both of us are on the same side in this battle, albeit with different weapons. Okay. By the way, President Trump, if I'm not mistaken, is a Presbyterian. Okay. How much of that he practices is another question, but he doesn't even claim to be a Catholic. Donald Trump is not part of the Children of Light. Okay. Just for that reason alone, he's not a Catholic. Okay. That ends it right there. So this is just insane. That doesn't mean he can't do anything good. It doesn't mean he can't be of goodwill. It doesn't mean any of those things, but it does mean he's not part of the Children of Light.
It's a really strange way that the Archbishop Vigano here, that he brings it in. He starts it with that entire sentence of children of light. I think if he was talking about spiritual battles, then I could kind of see what he's coming with. He's saying, okay, there's a spiritual battle of light and dark, and maybe again, playing devil's advocate here, is this like a translation issue? Is he? I mean, that's not likely. I mean, as you said, he mentions this several times throughout the letter, because I can see what he's kind of trying to say. It seems like he's trying to say there's good and bad. There's a spiritual battle as well as a physical battle. Yeah, that's kind of what's going on. But that's not actually what he says. He
is deliberately mixing and confusing the natural with the supernatural. You can have natural virtue and be in mortal sin. It doesn't, I mean, obviously a lot of people have very good natural qualities and are naturally very, for example, generous. People can be very generous. But if, if they're living in adultery, for example, or if they, commit fraud or lie in court, I mean, that natural virtue ain't going to do a thing for them in terms of their spiritual life. So, yeah, it is amazing. Now, you said maybe it's a translation issue. Well, Vigano was nuncio to the United States, so his English must be good. And since he's writing to I'm pretty sure he wrote that in English. So
yeah, it seems like it. Yeah,
right. So because he speaks English and he's addressing a president who speaks. I don't know if Donald Trump speaks any other languages besides English.
I can't imagine.
Right. I've never heard, one way or another, but no, I don't think there's any translation issue there. And then let's see if in the next paragraph there's anything here that will be important to quote, or if it's just more the same. Well, he talks about, he condemns, Masonic ideals and stuff. So in other words, he knows what he's talking about, right? Or at least he gives you, if you asked him, he would say he knows what he's talking about. So, and I think we should assume that he does know if he's condemning, Freemasonry and so on. Well, then why is he mixing the supernatural with the natural? Why is he essentially supernaturalized, or I should say, why is he taking supernatural concepts and politicizing it?
Right.
So then on page 3, he writes a little bit down. However, it is important that the good, who are the majority, wake up from their sluggishness and do not accept being deceived by a minority of dishonest people with unavowable purposes. It is necessary that the good, the children of light, come together and make their voices heard. So here again, he has naturalized the concept of the children of light, and yet he claims that it is the biblical concept he is using here, right? So we can agree that there are a lot of naturally good people who, oppose certain evil things that they find in government, but they're not the children of light. So let's see. So then he talks about yeah, the importance of prayer. That's fine. Infernal deception. Okay, and then he signs off. So he signs off with, "United against the invisible enemy of all humanity, I bless you and the First Lady, the beloved American nation, and all men and women of goodwill." Now, I've criticized this extensively in the Novus Ordo Watch post. Perhaps you could bring that one up briefly. Dangerous heresy and attractive wrapping paper. And again, I was dismayed at seeing the recognize and resist, the big players there, raising no objection to this whatsoever. They were gung-ho about it.
Well, and I think it's a great point that people consider that right now and consider why. And I think it's exactly as you said at the beginning of the show. It's because they had a preconceived idea that they wanted this to be good, right? Like it wasn't really like hey, what does this actually say? It was this is someone that we respect in our church who's saying something about someone that we like in politics. And then there was no really reading into it. I think that's exactly your point. It's like, hey, let's make sure we actually look at what Archbishop Vigano is saying and doing. I think that this really proves that.
Yes, because that's fair. What else are you going to go by if not what he says and what he does? And there's no need, I don't see the need to say, well, I am definitively on this side or on that. I'm definitively for, or I'm definitively against. There's enough, I would say there's enough there to cause a prudent person to doubt that Vigano is what he appears to be, like in terms of, this great new convert who's seeing the light and is trying to do what he can to destroy Vatican II or something. I think there's plenty of reason to doubt. So maybe you can just scroll through the article briefly just to show how long it is and all the information there. I mean, I'm not going to read it all now, but there's a lot there with some background on Vigano and so on. And I should probably also say that it was either a few days or a few weeks later, Vigano released another statement in which he totally shredded Vatican II and the whole Vatican II religion. In fact, if I remember correctly, Bishop Sanborn commented, Bishop Donald Sanborn, the sedevacantist bishop, commented that he himself could not have written it better, if I remember correctly. So it was really good. And so you're thinking to yourself, how is it that someone who can denounce Vatican II so well and, expose the errors and refute the errors of Vatican II so well one day can fall back into these errors of naturalism and ecumenism and indifferentism the next? What's going on here? So we're going to put the link in the show notes to this article. There's a lot there. And, it takes some real research to properly to show exactly what is wrong with Archbishop Vigano's letter. It's not so easy to do that just in a conversation because there's just, you want to read texts with documentation, right? And not just have somebody quote things to you. So that's why, the written word is always so much better, so much more reliable on these issues. So I just wanted to quote the encyclical Humanum Janus by Pope Leo XIII on Freemasonry, actually. It's released in 1884. And you know what? I will send you that link right now if you want to pull it up. If not, no big deal. We'll definitely put the link in the show notes. Humanum Janus, the very first paragraph hits the nail on the head, or is very relevant to what we're talking about. So Pope Leo says this: the race of man, after its miserable fall from God, the creator and the giver of heavenly gifts, through the envy of the devil, separated into two diverse and opposite parts, of which the one steadfastly contends for truth and virtue, the other of those things which are contrary to excuse me, the other of those things which are contrary to virtue and to truth. The one is the kingdom of God on earth, namely the true church of Jesus Christ, and those who desire from their heart to be united with it, so as to gain salvation, must of necessity serve God and his only begotten Son with their whole mind and with an entire will. The other is the kingdom of Satan, in whose possession and control are all whosoever follow the fatal example of their leader and of our first parents, those who refuse to obey the divine and eternal law, and who have many aims of their own in contempt of God, and many aims also against God. Okay, so it is, yes, there are two camps. There are the children of light and the children of darkness, but it is the Catholic Church, the kingdom of God on earth on one side, and all those that are not part of the Catholic Church, the kingdom of God, are on the other side necessarily, are the children of darkness. Now, we should just maybe emphasize one more time. The children of darkness, you don't have to be malicious to belong into that camp. We're not saying that all those who are part of the children of darkness are, desire evil or anything, or are just absolute reprobates. That we're just saying that they do not have faith, hope, and charity, right? They do not have the true faith. They're not a part of the Catholic Church. They're not united to the Catholic Church through an efficacious desire either. They're basically people who do not have the faith and are in mortal sin, is essentially what we're talking about. So it is precise. All of mankind, before our Lord redeemed us, all of mankind was part of that camp, the children of darkness. That's why our Lord came, right? So that all of us, that was the idea, right? Every single human being is supposed to join the camp of the children of light, the kingdom of God on earth, the Catholic Church. That's why it's called the ark of salvation, right? It is the ark that saves. So it's important for that not to be misunderstood. But of course, Vigano, in his letter to President Trump, makes that into, well, let's see, if you oppose the deep state, then you're part of the children of light. And if you don't, then if you are part of the deep state, then you're part of the children of darkness. It's completely inadmissible to distort the concept in that way.
And so just giving your opinion, because it obviously just has to be your opinion. Where does that come from? Do you think? I mean, does he make an intentional error here? Is he just being sloppy because he's trying to make friends in the political system, or did he intend it? Did he not intend it? I guess what do you think? Why did this happen?
I mean, so obviously I'm not, I don't know the heart or the inner workings of Vigano. But what I would say is it's impossible for him not to realize that is an error. I mean, reasonably speaking, okay? That is so clearly contrary to the gospel, that there's just no way, especially not for someone who claims to have understood now the errors of the Vatican II Church and all of that, right? So why did he do it? I mean, one possible, I don't know his motive. I don't know. But one possible motive is it was politically expedient, right? Or, human respect could factor into it. Maybe it was malice. Maybe he is a fifth column trying to, mislead those who are or mean to be traditional Catholics. I don't know. There's just, it will be pure speculation. What I do know is that there's just no way to defend it or justify it. And it's also not something you can just skip over, right? It's not something we'll turn a blind eye to that. It wasn't that bad. No, this is really, really bad. This isn't, some kind of mistake about some doctrinal nuance or something. Right. This is pretty fundamental stuff.
Well, and it seems like then, I mean, for a lot of what's going on, if he really wants to be true player for good, whatever you want to call it, I suppose, then it seems like he does kind of have to come out publicly, first of all, and say, I was consecrated by Bishop Williamson. And then it seemed like he probably has to say, okay, I had said a lot of really bad things. I did a lot of bad things within the Novus Ordo hierarchy for 60 years. And I'm truly deeply sorry, and do a public abjuration. I mean, I'm not saying that I have no authority to say. I'm just saying, in my opinion, it seems like that would make sense. And I think that would, maybe a lot of people could understand it, because people do make mistakes, they do make errors, and hopefully he has seen the errors of his ways, and he is coming around to it. Of course, we both hope for that, of course.
Yeah, I mean, 22 years ago, for example, I supported the Society of St. Pius X. Okay, I hereby retract. Okay,
right.
I withdraw. I retract all my support. And I was simply misled. I was doctrinally misled. There's a lot of things I didn't know that the church teaches, and so forth. Yes, we make mistakes. We get it wrong. But then, you need to say so.
And so I know before we get going, I know you wanted to mention one other thing that he did in 2020, I believe, or was it 2021? It was
absolutely.
Okay, yes. So but it was after the election, and he met with. I remember it being a big deal because I remember the whole.
He was part of a big rally.
Yeah.
I mean, he participated by video message, but still, it was a true participation. But go ahead. You wanted to say something else?
No, please.
Oh, okay. We're ready for that. Okay, so. I think I sent you the link. So this is what I'm about to say can be found on Novusordowatch.org. The blog is called the Novus Ordo Wire. You can just click on that. That'll take you to the blog, or you can just go to novusordowatch.org/wire. And on December 15th, 2020, I put up a post that the title is Archbishop Carlo Vigano and Taylor Marshall participate in ecumenical prayer rally with Protestants and Jews. Okay. Now, this was a big rally regarding, they were alleging election fraud, and they had a rally about that, and Protestants and Jews were, I think, well, I don't remember exactly if it was specifically an invitation to Catholics, Protestants, and Jews, or if it was just, people of faith, as they like to call it nowadays. I don't know. But actually, wait a minute. Oh, here we go. So this was part of what's called the Jericho March. And again, this is all documented in that post. It says here, quote, Jericho March is comprised of Judeo-Christians collectively praying to God to intercede, expose a particular darkness, and bring about justice. As a community of believers, we take our petitions to heaven, and we know that our mighty and powerful God answers and can move mountains, unquote. And there's more, but so clearly you have here so-called Christians, and so that would include, in today's terminology, that would include Catholics, Novus Ordos, Orthodox Protestants, and of course Talmudic Jews, Orthodox Jew, whatever. And if we look at who participate, which faith leaders participated in that rally, some interesting names show up. Bishop Joseph Strickland from the Catholic Diocese of Tyler, Texas, at the time. He was part of it by video message. Dr. Taylor Marshall, he was there, participated by video message. And it's funny because both, well, I don't know about Strickland. No, I'm not sure where Strickland was at that time theologically, but Father Frank Pavone, Priests for Life, he, of course, was since laicized by the Vatican. But okay, so Pavone, clearly a man of Vatican II, Strickland to an extent as well. Taylor Marshall, and of course, Carlo Maria Vigano. Now, both Marshall and Vigano at that point were claiming to be traditionalists, rejecting the errors of Vatican II. Well, excuse me, what is this?
True.
if not this typical Vatican II interreligious, these interreligious prayer meetings and stuff that they've been doing since Vatican II. This is now, we're not saying that it's wrong for people of different religions to come together in order to support some purely political cause. Of course, you can do that, right? When we can whatever better working conditions, right? Something like that. It's not like you can only have Catholics support that. I mean, obviously, if you go to a rally, for something like that, and the guy next to you is a Buddhist, and you don't have to, condemn it now. But this is specifically a prayer rally, okay? And in which the organizer said that we're all, the implied idea here is that they're all, praying to the same God, and God that prayers from all these different religions are efficacious and pleasing to God, and that we can publicly join each other and just all raise our prayers to the same God with our petitions. Doesn't matter if you're Catholic, if you're Orthodox, if you're Protestant, if you're Jewish. And what do you know? Even though this is clearly a Vatican II thing, condemned by the church before Vatican II, well, look who's showing up. Taylor Marshall and Carlo Maria Vigano. Again, it was politically expedient. Mm-hmm. Right? So because they had a certain political concern, all of a sudden, this was acceptable. And there's just this. There's no defense of this. Okay. And by the way, I don't know if the video that I included. Oh yeah, in that post, one of the last. Actually, it's the last embedded video. You will see that at the end of this march, there was a blowing of the Jewish shofar. And maybe you can scroll down to that for a moment in that post.
Yeah, I just pinned over it. Yeah.
So that was part of the rally. That was like the grand finale.
Wow.
Okay. So this is clearly an interreligious rally for a political cause in which, again, this is a rally that is not strictly political. It is spiritual as well, right? It involves prayer. Can you just hit the play button on that and see if it works? It's 48 seconds. We don't have to look at the whole thing. I just,
like for the Lord, this is the last trump, the handmade, one of a kind.
This is not something where you can
Donald J. Trump,
accidentally
for the Supreme Commander with the seal of the President of the United States.
Participate. I mean, this is
President Trump. Come get your shofar
this is not,
and lead us to another 4 years.
Just political. So we can truthfully say that even though they participated by video message, both Taylor Marshall and Carlo Maria Vigano participated in an interreligious prayer rally in which you had Christians, using the term loosely, praying with Jews for a particular political outcome.
Wow.
What do you do with that? What I mean, so I think we would do well not to turn a blind eye to these things in which Archbishop Vigano was involved, and which he has not, to my knowledge, repudiated afterwards. And again, this is after his condemnation of Vatican II. And after he started denouncing the Freemasonic principles underlying Vatican II and so forth. So, I mean, this is a Freemason's dream right there.
Yeah.
Different religions together, praying together.
I remember too. I mean, I remember the times because I was pretty upset that Trump had lost, because I thought that it had not been a fair loss. Let's just say that. We don't need to get into that. But I remember that rally and just seeing the news of it, probably even on your channel, and being like, just like sickened by, like, what is happening? Like, guys, just because you, exactly as you said, it's like just because you agree politically, and even though you're hoping for the better guy or the lesser of two evils, whatever, you don't get together and pray with Jews and stuff. I mean, come on. It's not one of those things with these, some of these pundits and you gotta, if you're going to convert and you're going to come be part of the children of light, for goodness sake, first of all, or if you're just going to be part of the team that's trying to be children of light, then you gotta fess up to this stuff and say, hey, look, my bad. This was really bad, and I repent of it. And again, I really hope that is what happens. But if not, how on earth, as you said, Mario, you can't just be like, nah, that was 4 years ago. Let's just leave it be. That's not. I don't think that's the right response to it.
Yeah. So I suppose, according to Archbishop Vigano, those Jews there blowing the shofar and everything, they're part of the children of light. That's insane.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, what he's doing here, he's clearly subordinating divine revelation to a political cause or to politics, right? To Americanism, maybe. It's crazy, and it's very dangerous. So maybe Archbishop Vigano can explain all this. I doubt it, but he's welcome to.
Absolutely. He has an open invite to the channel.
What's that?
He has an open invite to either channel. Either channel. You can go on with Mario as well.
Yeah. By the way, I think he can come out of hiding now. I really don't think anyone is after his life. And besides, he could die a martyr, right?
Yeah. Boy, I mean, about best case scenario, right? Boy.
So yeah. No, I think if he'd really like to cause more of a ruckus, he should show up at the Vatican. Now, not alone, make it a big rally or something, right? Hold up banners and stuff. I mean, do it wherever, you're not infringing on it. I mean, obviously, we don't want them to be carried away by the Swiss guards. But wherever wherever they can do it legally. So that I think that would be great to have some kind of a show, But in any case, yeah, so these are my main concerns about Archbishop Vigano, which make me suspicious of him, which I think we would do well. I mean, you can't just ignore this, right? You can't sweep it under the rug. And if any of those people like Matt Gaspers from Catholic Family News, Michael Matt at The Remnant, or whoever would like to explain why they were so gung-ho endorsing Vigano's letter to President Trump when it's so full of really scary stuff, I'd love to have them weigh in on that.
Yeah. I'd be curious to hear what they would say too. No, I appreciate it, Mario. As always, I'm glad that you weighed in on the matter, because I think, again, you have looked into this stuff that from different angles that others haven't. I think that it's a valuable thing to have the information and to now know it. And again, I think everyone, please do pray for Archbishop Vigano. Absolutely. I mean, please pray for him and pray that he figures it out, and that, at the very least, just saves his own soul. Of course, that's what we all want. We all know that the excommunication is more of a badge of honor than anything. I mean, it means that you're on the right way, right? In terms of, obviously, that's not the true Pope. That's not the true church.
I mean, I love how the Vatican essentially had to embarrass themselves now, because here they are constantly preaching the church of inclusion and everyone, no one is marginalized. No one is excluded. It's a culture of inclusion and encounter, and we're all one, and human fraternity and infinite dignity and whatnot. And then you are out, love it.
Love it. Mario, I appreciate it. Everyone, go check out the stuff, Novusordowatch.org. Follow him on X. Are you only on X now? Because I think you left Facebook, right? Facebook was just too much of a hassle.
No, I'm on Facebook and
you're still on Facebook. Okay.
Twitter.
Facebook, X, Twitter, whatever you guys want to call it. Yeah, go follow him.
Facebook keeps removing certain posts. It doesn't even make sense. They'll say, oh, this was spam or something. And a post on Peter Kwasniewski is not spam, for example.
Well, no, I'm kidding.
I can't stand Facebook. I only use it because it reaches
what can you do? No, everyone, please go check it out, Novusordowatch.org. Mario, I greatly appreciate it. I hope it'll come on.
Tradcast.org, right?
Tradcast.org. Check out. Yeah, I mean, you. I guess we can't say how regularly you do your podcast, but semi-regularly. We'll say that.
Tradcast Express, usually every 2 weeks, or hopefully every 10 days. But Trapcast 38 is hopefully the next release.
Nice.
The big one.
Well, and as we say too, I mean, was recently on with Dominic of Glorious Heritage. Please go and support Novus Ordo Watch, support Mario and what they're doing over there, because again, you know, we don't have that many people in this business, true Catholics, you know, giving information, if it's in books, if it's in media, if it's in news. And I think that's really, really important to support, so that we can continue to do it, because we also do have to, you know, feed our families, and you know, and even a little bit matters. And I'm sure that's the same for Mario. You know, if it's $2 that you can contribute a month or whatever it is, do it. Go over to Novus Ordo Watch, and
it's tax deductible. So it's a it's a tax exempt nonprofit. So
even better.
Set it up the right way, so it's all good. It's all legal.
Perfect. It's all legal. So definitely go do that, guys. Keep him running. Keep the lamps on, because we need him just for exactly this type of podcast. Mario, until next time, God bless you. Everyone, please like, share, subscribe, comment, say a prayer for Archbishop Vigano, and then please, right afterwards, say a prayer for me and Mario. Mario, God bless you.